All right, y'all know the deal. Wisdom is applied sciences, so you know what time it is. It's time for this topic about movement quality, movement hygiene, mobility, right? Because a great deal of people want to get in shape, but your body is like a straitjacket, right? So when you go to the gym, you're trying to exercise in spite of your body. What do I mean by this? So for example, I'll see people in the gym who are trying to pick a weight up off the floor, trying to do a deadlift exercise. And when I see their form, the first thing that comes to mind is like a dog copping a squat to take a dookie, right? You know that rounded lower back, this position right here, this vulnerable looking position right here, like this, just looking straight ahead, just hunched over, right? That look, that's that's what I see when I see people deadlifting with bad form. Or some people when they're doing a chest press or a bench press or something like that, or push-ups, but they got the elbows out here and they're pushing like this, where their fingers are like pointing in towards each other. This is all elevated here and there, and they got the neck out and whatnot doing push-ups, and they look really uncomfortable. Or people who are overhead pressing and they got the weight here, and then because they can't press overhead this way, right? They can't press overhead this way, so instead they end up pressing this way because they're all tight and everything here, and the shoulders are all tight and the mid-back muscles are weak, right? So the list goes on. All these limitations, right? You're trying to move this way and you got stuff pulling this way and things are weak, so you can't get your shoulders back. Some people have really bad posture where it's just like they're just pulled in, right? Like elbows just coming in towards the collarbones, right? Like you've just been hugging a handball for 24 hours straight and now you can't open up, right? So I equate this to trying to work out in like a straitjacket. And when you have poor mobility like this, what happens is this puts you at a great risk for injury, right? If you have tight shoulders and everything and you're like this, you're looking at an AC impingement, right? You're looking at a neck injury. You're looking at all different types of injuries. Even to the point where it just so happens to be there's a strong correlation between bad kyphotic posture, and there's a strong connection to anxiety and things like what's that upper respiratory issue, asthma, right? And there's a strong correlation between that and bad posture. And you'd be surprised where I've had clients personally where as we improve and we open up at the chest and we expand and drop those shoulders, right? The issues that they were having with asthma and anxiety, they dissipate and eventually they go away and don't have these problems anymore. Just by changing your body language. Okay, just changing your body language can be extremely life altering in ways aside from just building muscle and strength, right? So I'm going to talk about just a handful of mobility exercises that can drastically change your movement quality, your mobility, and your life in general. Now, if you log into Tribe by Noire and you go to any of the training programs, when you scroll down to the bottom, right, you'll see, for example, if it's a 3-day-a-week program, you'll see day 1, 2, and 3, and then below that you'll see daily mobility, right? Or if it's a 4 or 5-day program, it'll be after that last day, there will be daily mobility. And within that daily mobility, there will be videos for a variety of mobility exercises, and then it'll be the rep scheme underneath, right? These exercises are not just meant to do on training days, they're meant to do every day. And this will drastically improve your mobility. And let me tell you something, this is not just stretching, okay? I don't stretch. I have very good movement quality. I have very good mobility. It's not perfect, but it's very good. A lot of people think my movement quality is perfect, but I don't stretch, right? I do movement hygiene, I do movement quality, okay? Now, mobility, stretching alone is not going to help because certain things have to be loosened up and certain things have to be tightened. Having limited mobility is a result of certain things not being loose and other things not being strong. So a lot of times when people have tight chest or they're like this and try to bench press, they think, oh, I need to stretch my pecs, and that's why I don't get good chest activation when I bench press. And really, it's because your lats are weak and your mid-back muscles and your lower traps and mid-traps are weak. So it may not even be necessarily just an abundance of tightness in your pecs and your shoulders. It could be that your back muscles are just weak. And so if your shoulders are up like this, your traps are very active because your forearms, your actual grip, and your lats and your trapezes are weak, right? Your rhomboids and all of that type of stuff, and those mid-back muscles are weak. And your posture is poor. So these mobility exercises are meant to improve posture, stretch certain muscles, and strengthen others. So an example of this, and first on the list, is something called a deep lizard lunge. All right. Now, the deep lizard lunge, this is an exercise that is going to work on your posture. This is going to work on your hip mobility. When I say hip mobility, opening up your piriformis, your glute medius, your hamstrings, your adductors, right? Those inner thigh muscles. It's going to stretch out your hip flexors. And the cool thing is that this exercise will stretch out your hip flexors, your hip flexors, while contracting your quads. This is very important because some people, when they extend their hip, their knees stay bent. It's very difficult for them to lock their knees and extend their hips simultaneously. So you'll see people literally deadlift and hyperextend their back in order to extend their hips, but their knees are bent, right? So this fixes things like that. So the reason why it's a deep lizard lunge is because in the beginning, your elbow literally comes down to where your foot is and touches the floor. Or at least that's the goal, right? To try to get your elbow to touch the floor. Then you simply rotate at the torso, and that rotation is going to increase the pivoting function in your spine, right? Your spine is supposed to pivot a little bit as well as extend. So that pivoting improves and works hand in hand with spinal extension throughout your mid-spine, your thoracic spine, as well as your lumbar spine. So as you rotate and reach, that's going to open up your piriformis, glute medius, as well as extend the spine. Now, when you do this exercise, be very mindful of all the movements you're doing. As you're rotating, you should be consciously pulling your elbow back, contracting your lats and your lower and mid trapezes, right, as you reach up to the sky or the ceiling, right? So as you rotate and you reach up, drop the shoulder down towards the hip, contract your mid-back muscles and reach as much as you can and really open it up. It's all about opening up and reaching, right? And really take your time. Hold each position for about 1 to 2 seconds or something like that, right? And you can start doing 6 on each side, right? Or 7 or even 8 on each side. But just do it, take your time, go through a slow and controlled rep tempo, movement tempo, right? So that you make sure that you feel moving through everything. Don't rush through it, okay? Really take your time. And depending on how limited your mobility is, this can feel like a full workout. Where when I train people in the gym and I have people go through an exercise like this, they'll tell me this feels like cardio. It feels like I've been lifting weight. Because in a deep lizard lunge, you're also holding yourself in a push-up position, right? As you change your feet and stuff. So you're hitting your abs, you're hitting your obliques, you're extending at the spine, you're contracting muscles in your shoulders and your mid-back. You're activating your lats even, right? As well as stretching out everything in your hips and doing all of this kind of stuff. So an exercise like this, you're working on all of your mobility, right? This is integrated movement. We're not just isolating a hamstring or isolating your adductors or one leg or anything like this. This is a full body mobility exercise that you could and should do on a daily basis. Now, moving on, there is also another exercise I want to share with you guys. And you can do this right after that deep lizard lunge. And it's called a squatting pivot and reach, right? Squat, pivot, and reach. So you literally squat down to your bottom position, okay? And you have your elbows on the inside of your thighs. And all you do while you're in that squatting position is you just reach up. You just rotate at the spine and reach up as much as you can, okay? And that further works on that rotational movement that you were doing in the deep lizard lunge. but you're also working on getting comfortable in the bottom of the squat position. Now, as you reach up to the ceiling and rotate, or reach up to the sky and rotate, your other arm that is now pinned up against your inner thigh is pushing your hips out, right? It's pushing your leg out. You're pushing your knee out to open up your inner thigh muscles, those adductors. So you're working on your flexibility in that way. And as you reach overhead, now noticing if you reach and hold, you will feel all of the delts of your shoulders working. You are going to feel your front delts working, your medial delts working. You'll feel your rear delts working. You'll feel the muscles in your mid back and your upper back working. You'll feel all kinds of things. You'll feel your obliques engaged, your internal and external obliques, mid back muscles, spinal erectors. I mean, you'll feel everything. And you'll also be getting a stretch in your soleus and your gastrocnemius and things like that in this exercise as well. So this is a fully integrated, full body mobility, movement hygiene exercise. Okay, and it's not easy, but as you do it, you'll be able to get lower and lower into the squat. You'll get deeper, and you'll feel more comfortable in that position. If you do this before you squat, you'll notice a difference in your squat technique. You'll feel a lot more comfortable squatting, and you'll be able to push more weight because you'll be able to move better. You won't have all of these limitations holding you back from performing in the gym. Now, in regards to posture, rounding of the lower back, rounding of your upper back, right? When it comes to exercises like a bent over row or a deadlift, right? You can simply work on improving your back arch with something like a standing bow and arch. And this is like the cat-cow, but the difference between this and the cat-cow is the fact that you're doing it standing. And the reason why I like to do it standing is because, you don't deadlift on your knees. You don't do bent over rows on your knees. You do them standing. And so this teaches you to get into a bent over position and literally push your chest out and arch your back and pull your shoulders back down towards your hips. So it teaches you how to set your back and get it nice and flat. A lot of the times the reason why people don't do bent over rows and deadlifts well is because they don't know how to set a flat back. They don't know how to extend the spine. And so with this exercise, all you simply do is you bend over, you bend your hip at a 90-degree angle, you place your palms of your hands on your knees, and you press against your knees actively. You have a slight bend in your knees, and you press actively against your knees. And so you will literally round out your back, flexing your abs. I want you to really consciously flex your abs and push your spine up to the sky or to the ceiling, right? And flex, drop your head and let everything round out as much as possible. Hold that position for a second or two, and then reverse that movement and arch. And so as you reverse that movement, you're gonna press against your knees, push your chest out, and pull your shoulders back. And as you press, you're gonna feel your lats fire. You're gonna feel your lats contracting. So it's very difficult to feel your upper traps engage in this because you're pressing against your knees, forcing the opposite muscles to engage. And so as you push your chest out, push it out, and get a nice flat back, push your butt back and hold that position and learn what that really feels like. Okay, if you're hunchback, you're hunched over, you're used to rounding your back and all that kind of stuff, and you don't really know how to flatten your back, this is a very, very good exercise to do. Okay, and you can do this, 12 times, right? And each position you hold for just a second or two, right? So you go from rounded to arched to rounded to arched, right? Flex spine, extended spine, flex spine, extended spine. And this isn't necessarily a stretch, right? This is all about improving mobility. You might feel a stretch in your hamstrings if your hamstrings are tight, but this is a strengthening exercise. This is meant for you to strengthen and engage your spinal extensors, right? Your spinal erectors, okay? And this teaches you to activate the muscles all the way from your lumbar spine through your mid back and even your upper back. You engage all of these muscles simultaneously. right? Where as you flatten out your back and you extend your spine, you push your chin back, you get everything in alignment. You get that full spinal alignment where everything is firing at one time. So it's not about just only extending through your lower spine, which a lot of people do. Some people compensate. They can't extend through their mid-back, so they hyperextend through their lumbar spine. This teaches you how to extend throughout your entire spine to truly get a neutral spinal position. Now, after an exercise like this, you can then go into something called standing HPR, which is a standing hinge, pivot, and reach. Okay? So you get down into that deadlift position and you really lock in that extended spine, that flat back. And then all you do is you put your hands together, right? Like kind of like in a prayer position, right? Or just like this, right? And you point your fingertips down to the ground and you keep your wrists in line with your knees. And all you do is you just focus on sliding your palm across your torso, pulling your elbow back. It's kind of like if you were to do like a row, like a single arm row, or you went to row something up. This is basically how you would do that exercise, right? Where as you're moving into the pivot and you're rotating at the torso, it's like you're pulling something up. And then you transition into reaching to the ceiling or to the sky. So maintaining that hip hinge, maintaining that bent over position, you pivot and reach up to the ceiling. And this also, this opens up your hips. This loosens up your spinal erectors and improves on spinal extension and all of that. Now, spinal pivoting and spinal extension work together, right? So as you improve one, you improve the other. So you just don't only have to work on extension, you should work on pivoting also, getting mobile in all planes of movement, right? And so these handful of exercises is something that you can do on a daily basis and see a significant change in your mobility. There's a lot of other different exercises you can do, but I would say if you're going to do any set of mobility exercises, get into the habit of doing these. And that's pretty much it. That's all I want. I don't want to give you guys too much at one time, but this is enough. This is enough to start working on now. So I want to give you information that you can engage with today. You can watch this video today, follow along, watch these exercises, and do them today. And just work on these. And once you work on these and get the hang of these and you notice that your form doing them starts to look like my form doing them, then you can go, okay, yeah, this feels good. When you feel your movement improve and everything feels right, things feel much better. You feel the muscles working that should be working. You don't feel like your back is gonna snap, right? You don't feel like you're gonna tear something in your shoulders. Well, then you know you're on to something when you start losing that straight jacket feeling. So whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to gain weight and build more muscle, whether you're cutting or bulking or whatever you want to do, right? Whether you just want to get stronger, you should be working on movement quality, because the fitness journey, this is a lifetime commitment. This isn't something that you just do as like a 30-day challenge or 60 days or just see if you can do for 21 days. This is something that you do for life. So as long as you're on this planet, you only get one body. So you want to make sure that your body moves as efficiently as possible. Because as you get older, gravity is going to come at you and it's going to try to wear you down. So you need to push back against gravity. You got to build that strength. Stay strong. Build the strength, keep the strength. And I catch you guys in the next video.